the next topic is application services. After installation of Informatica, after completion of these core services, in administration part, the first thing is application services. In application services in real time, first we have to create repository service, on top of that integration service. So repository service contain their own repository database. Each and every repository contain their own repository database. So repository database we are using to store that metadata information, user related privileges and group related privileges, importing the sources, target connections, mappings, sessions. Every metadata information we are storing in the repository database. After that, we are creating integration services. So repository services basically we are using for any type of database. But for web and SAP related, we are using SAP BW services. For web related, HTTP related sources, we are using Web Services Hub. For other databases, we are using repository services. For each and every repository, we are creating integration service. So integration service is the mediator between the client tools and repository database. So in the next architecture, we can see how we are working with the application services. We can see. So this is the architecture. So these are the client tools: repository manager, designer, workflow manager, and finally is the workflow monitor. Okay, this is the client tools, client part in Informatica. This is the admin part in Informatica. In the domain, we create a repository and integration service. Each and every repository contains their own repository database. So see here, first, while creation of the mappings and everything, we are loading metadata into the repository database. After creation of the flow, we are sending requests to the integration service for execution. Again, integration service is sending the request to the repository database. So if the client request is a authorized request, then the repository database sending the response to the integration service. So based on that integration service, it will read the data from the sources, then it will execute based on the requirement. Finally, it will load the data into the target tables. So this is a complete process. Explaining again. So these are the client tools. Okay. This is the administration part. Repository integration and repository database. And sources and targets. Okay. First, metadata is storing in the database. Then sending execution request to the integration service. From integration service to repository database. From there, we are getting some instructions, reading the sources, then executing, loading. So this is the process we are following. So integration service have their own reader threads and loader threads. So based on that, it will read the data and it will load the data into the targets. So in this example, we are using integration service. So we are working with millions records of data in the real time. So you are executing one flow and other people are also executing one flow, then sometimes the integration services will be busy. So at that time you can they will create in the real time multiple integration services on the same repository. If one integration service is busy, we can use other integration service which is related to same repository to execute that process. Okay, so see here, on node 1 we created one repository. This repository contain multiple integration services, so we can use I1, I2, I3. This is the architecture part of the application services, core services and application services. So each and every node contain their own core services and application services. So then we can start the client part. Thank you.